Keep on riding with us as we continue to broadcast the balance and defend the discourse from these Hip Hop Weekly studios. Welcome back to Civic Cipher. I am your host, Ramses Ja.
He is Ramses Ja. I am Q Ward. You are tuned in to Civic Cipher.
Indeed you are, and hopefully you are still tuned in, but if not, let me bring you up to speed. We are talking to a tech world giant. Names like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, who else? Steve Jobs, and on and on and on. Well, today we have Isaac Hayes III, who has joined the ranks, I would certainly say.
Don't forget Tom from MySpace.
Oh yeah, Tom too. But Isaac Hayes III, who has perhaps the most dynamic and interactive of all the apps that I've engaged with. But he's also a social media thought leader and indeed the founder of the social media app Fanbase, here with us discussing kind of the importance of social media and, how to navigate these modern waters. But before we move on, let's discuss BABA, Becoming a Better Ally Baba. And today's Baba is sponsored by Friends of the Movement. You can sign up for the free Boda wallet from FOTMglobal.com to support Black businesses and allied businesses, as well as make an impact with your spending. Again, that's FOTMglobal.com. Today, we want you to check out StartEngine.com. StartEngine.com/offering/fanbase to be exact, where you can invest in Fanbase. This is not an opportunity many people have. Certainly, we've never had this, especially to invest in something that's Black owned. And so we are encouraging all of those of you who feel like supporting Black businesses to not only support, but also to maybe generate a return. We have not been paid for any of this. This is an honest expression of how we feel, nor will we be paid for it. But I want to share just a bit. Get a piece of Fanbase, next-gen social media for people who value content and community. Fanbase is a free-to-download, free-to-use next-generation social network that allows any user to earn money from day one. Fanbase enables anyone to monetize their content, charging from $2.99 to $99.99 per month per subscriber for exclusive access to photos, videos, audio chat rooms, and long-form content. Fanbase also has virtual gifts known as Love that allows users to tip other users half a penny per love. Unlike other social apps, Fanbase is the one place you can truly be you. #be you without limits. Again, we want you to check out startengine.com/offering/fanbase, or you can download the Fanbase app. And I'm sure that there's the back end connective links or whatever to land you here if you want to invest, because they're in the middle of a round of raising funds again, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But again, I want to mention that this is not something that we're being paid for. This is an honest expression of what we believe.
And we actually invested.
And we have invested because we do believe in it. So Isaac Hayes III, let me give you your full name. On the heels of that, talk to us a bit about this opportunity for people to invest and what that means in terms of Black ownership and generating Black wealth, because I know that you have some really profound thoughts about this.
Well, it's significant, across the board, because the accredited investor rule is something that has been around, and if people aren't aware, to invest in early stage companies like an IBM or an Apple or Google or Microsoft, you had to already be rich since 1933 all the way to 2015. And so there was this rule in place that you had to make $200,000 a year for 2 consecutive years, or have a net worth of $1 million minus your primary residence, minus your house. So that's rich people. Bottom line, I don't care what color you are, it's just rich people. So 2012, Barack Obama and Joe Biden passed this legislation called the Jobs Act, which wiped out the accredited investor rule, which allows people like you and I to put their dollars into startups, the same way that it was okay for anybody to go gamble in Vegas or go buy lottery tickets. Now you can invest in startups, and it's not donations, it's actually equity and ownership in companies. And so for someone that's Black, which the lack of access to capital is enormous in the Black community by way of venture capital and in startups, less than half of 1% of all venture dollars in 2023 went to Black founders. So you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, and only less than 0.5% went to Black people. So equity crowdfunding serves as a way for us to support our own businesses as investors. And StartEngine is a platform that I chose to use through 3 rounds of Reg CF crowdfunding for Fanbase. We've raised over $10 million. And now we're raising $17 million doing it the same way. And what's important about that is that, I've looked at some of the valuations and the exits of these tech companies over the last few years, and these companies reach, valuations and market caps of trillions of dollars, 1.8 trillion, $500 billion, but they're owned by a small group of already wealthy people. And so when it comes to social media, the honest answer is that the users are the ones that give the platform the value. No users, no platform has value. So I wanted to provide an opportunity for the users to have a piece of the pie, and especially Black people, because we know the effect that youth culture, especially Black culture, has on social media. So who better than to give an opportunity to own a part of a next generation platform that is geared and primed to be a successor to Instagram and TikTok and Fanbase, but now you have equity in that. And that's something that's never really been done before by way of social media platforms. So this is a new departure by way of how you scale and build a company, but be more inclusive to the audience of people that actually provide the success and are the engine of what you do. So that is why I wanted to do this and continue to offer the opportunity for people to invest. And again, it isn't a donation. This is money that you actually, sit on the cap table of a tech company that will have an eventual outcome of either we will get acquired or we will go public on the stock market, and you'll be able to cash your shares out then. Or when we're acquired, you'll get bought out as an investor and move on and see a return on your investment. And that's why I'm ambitious and very head set on making sure that Fanbase continues to be the success that it is, but also a success for investors like you guys and those people that have joined, over 15,500 people that have invested.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that you did talk about and in one of our recent conversations was how this is one of the more prominent ways of generating wealth. One of the more successful and consistent ways of generating wealth. And as you saw it, this could be a way that, around here, Q and I, we talk about economic restorative justice quite a bit. We talk about things like reparations. We talk about things like how wealth shapes outcomes in terms of, criminal activity, in terms of, educational opportunities, in terms of, healthcare outcomes, and so forth and so on. Money, a lot of the negative things that can happen to a person in their life tends to be more associated with people with less money, and the positive things tend to be associated with folks with more money. And I love the way that you connected like all of those things to investment opportunities such as this in the tech space, because not a lot of them exist. So talk about that a bit in terms of the opportunity for Black people and allies of Black people to be able to not only invest in a Black-owned business, but what the outcomes could be in terms of when, as you mentioned, sharing or selling or being acquired or something like that. I'm not sure what the terminology is, but
Exits is what he
exit. There you go. That's it.
Or liquidity event is liquidity event is basically what it's called. So that means either an acquisition, a merger, or an IPO. And so I think that, being able to provide the opportunity for that, because I think that we talk about reparations often. I think that's something that's a conversation and a fight that should always continue. But I don't think that people understand the amount of wealth that's being generated through investments and tech companies, and that people are able to exit and build wealth in that way. And so, we often have this conversation all the time about six figures, oh my God, I want somebody to make six figures and $100,000 a year, X, Y, Z. And I think that conversation is something that we have to kind of move to the next phase of that, because, okay, income is what you make. Wealth is taking that income and turning it into something that generates more wealth. So you make six figures, but are you spending it on something that will depreciate or not exist, or something that's, won't retain its value? Or can you take small amounts of capital, not large amounts, because again, with equity crowdfunding, these are not minimums of $50,000, $25,000. The minimum to invest in Fanbase is $399. So to say I can spend $399 on one of these things, an item or an event or an excursion this week, not in perpetuity or forever, but just this week, and I can take $399 and buy some stock in a startup this week, and rather than go on vacation or, buy something for myself, but actually take a little bit of money and try to generate some wealth off of it. And so I think that's significant because we often talk about, okay, we're making money. There's $1.8 trillion worth of Black spending power every year. A portion of that goes towards luxury items and non-essentials. So things that will never return value to us. And it might make us feel good. And I'll never tell anybody how to spend their money, but we also have to understand the value of even small amounts of capital through equity crowdfunding, the type of returns that they can provide. I'll say this, I think I said this before, but one of the seed investors in Uber invested $5,000 into Uber in 2010. And when the company went public, his $5,000 was worth $24 million. Now, I'm not saying if you have $5,000, but imagine if you and 10 of your friends had $500 and you put it into, and you had the opportunity to invest in Uber in 2010, and 9 years later, your $500 turned to $2.4 million. Wow. Like that is the reality of what happened to one already rich investor who took $5,000 and put it into Uber. And so with all the other companies that are available on equity crowdfunding, but especially in tech, with something like Fanbase, the ability to put that money towards a platform that could scale to $100 billion. Like the first valuation of Fanbase was $20 million. A Fanbase going from a $20 million company to a $100 billion company is a 5,000x multiple. That means the company's 5,000 times more valuable than it was. Now, when you take $100 billion, that sounds like a lot of money. But again, Facebook has a market cap at some points that have been almost $2 trillion or 1.2 trillion. ByteDance, which is TikTok's parent company, is valued at about 350 billion. Instagram, separated from Facebook, is like a $300 billion company. So even if Fanbase gets to the third of the level of success that Instagram got to, you're looking at a company that can be held by shareholders, young people, Black people, people that have never invested, that can return significant amounts of capital to them off small amounts of investment. And I think that is something that is one of the legacies that I want to be part of, as far as Fanbase, to be standing in a room full of 25,000 people that we've exited or gone public, and these people have taken $500 and turned it into $500,000. That would be incredible. And I that's what I strive to do by continuing to build a tech startup that I think can rival these giants.
Rams has mentioned earlier, there's a special feeling when it comes to Fanbase, not just because we know the founder, and not just because Black founders are very rare in the tech space, but there is a feeling of safety that comes with being a Black creator at Fanbase. However, Fanbase is not exclusive in the way that everyone else isn't welcome. Tell us a little bit about this journey of educating the masses on this thing that you've created that we all think is incredible, where you can center Black people but not exclude everyone else.
It's been a challenge, because I think even in spaces of media where I've had conversations, there hasn't been an interview where I've explicitly said that I'm a Black founder, but Fanbase is built for every person on the planet. And then the headline comes out and says, Isaac Hayes III is building a platform for Black creators. And I'm like, oh, that's not, that's a way to minimize and kind of make other people feel uncomfortable, because unfortunately in this country, things built by white people are perceived to be for all people. So if you're white and you build an app or a business, it's perceived to be for the Black community, the white community, Latino community, Asian community, Jewish community, everybody's included. When Black people build something, it's almost as if it's framed that it's only supposed to be for Black people, which is not true, which really minimizes and diminishes the impact and the effect of the idea of what I wanted to build, which is a platform which is available in 190 plus countries and territories on iOS and Android. So I didn't build Fanbase to just be exclusively Black. So it's been a challenge, but I understand that that's a game that's being played intentionally, but I don't let it affect what we do. And I think people still value and use Fanbase in that fashion. Now, whether people will try to highlight and continue to highlight that, I mean, of course, again, contrarian, that's always what people are going to be. But I know for certain that I built this to be a global platform because I want everybody to monetize. I want white athletes to monetize. I want Black students to monetize. I want gay activists to be able to monetize. I want to have a voice. And so I just want everybody to be able to have the opportunity to use the app in a way that they see fit, without limitation. And so it's been a challenge, but it's definitely not what Fanbase is about. It's a platform for a global audience.
Yeah, yeah. I think that your point is well made. One of the things that, we talk about in terms of this show, because we make a show that is for everybody. We make a show for people who are fans of hip hop music that we feel might be fans of hip hop culture, and as a result might be inclined to support marginalized community, might have a more accepting worldview in terms of other groups and races and communities and so forth. If we make a show for Black people, we're kind of preaching to the choir, right? But yet and still, whenever we, have to discuss our show with programmers or whatever around the country, they think of it as a Black show. And, we kind of lean into that a bit. We make a Black show for non-Black people, and these are conversations that just kind of come with being Black and doing anything on a national stage, I suppose. But for us, we also kind of understand that preaching to the choir thing doesn't make a lot of sense. And if we don't make the programming as inclusive as we can be, there are people that will look at the marketing that other people will do of our show, not the marketing we do ourselves, but the marketing, the headlines that people write. And it will look to them the way that Vietnamese, like if there was a Vietnamese radio show, I would immediately think, okay, that's not for me, that's for Vietnamese people. So when people say, oh, it's a Black radio show, there's a group of folks that will look at that and say, oh, it's for Black people, it's not for me. So again, your point is well made. If people frame Fanbase as a Black social media app and place for content creators, then everyone who's not Black will feel like, okay, that's not for me. And the same would be true with a Latino app or a whatever. I would not feel like it's a place for me. So again, your point is well made.
So Ramses, you're saying Fanbase is not the new blackplanet.com.
No, I think Fanbase is for everybody.
Okay.
It just happens to have a framework in place that doesn't extract Black culture from Black people, monetize it separate from them, and then play in Black people's face with it. And of course, the founder and the owners look a little bit more diverse than your typical app. Do I have that approximately right, Isaac?
The cap table of Fanbase is filled with all races of people.
Yep.
All genders, like genders from around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can invest in Fanbase around the planet. We have investors from India and Asia.
Oh, I've seen the photos. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're investors in the platform that believe in, from Australia, and like, yo, I heard about this, and so that's the thing that I think is really important. It's very, very inclusive. And so, yeah, again, it's unfortunate that we are marginalized in a way and trying to be, I guess, segregated through technology because of the race of a person. But it's just, I think it's a game that the media tries to play to try to limit the growth, because I've known other apps that are founded by Asian people that the race of the founder is never brought up.
Never mentioned, right?
Yeah, it's never the fact like this app is built for Asian people. Like, no, it's just an app. And so Fanbase is an app, but when they see a Black face, they want to say, okay, we're not welcome. It's just, this is you guys' party. We'll just head out. And I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. And I'm abundantly clear about that.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I mention this, that I've heard rumblings that Meta is, I believe they have created a subscription model for businesses, meaning that for bona fide content creators, not just businesses, but content creators where this is what they do daily.
Yeah.
Their existing accounts, I feel like this might be true, their existing accounts will have their current content suppressed further. And that will be true unless they start paying for this subscriptions exposure, right? So talk to us a bit about why they're doing that and how problematic that is, or how problematic that can be for, your general everyday content creators.
Well, the short answer is money and shareholders. And so if you invested in, let's say you invested in Facebook or Meta in 2010, and in 2024, like 14 years later, you've seen a significant return. If you invest in Meta in 2024, 14 years from now, you want to see the same return that people saw 14 years ago. So there's this demand to always increase profits and revenue. And it's like this, that's the one thing about going public. Once you go public, you are on this wheel of, you got to keep growing and figure out ways to make money. And so for Meta, 97.5% of their revenue comes from advertising. So they have to continue to squeeze that orange of advertising and just get every drop of every dollar out of the platform that they possibly can and find ways to make money. What that does is it ruins the user experience. It makes it like, okay, wow, why is my content? Now I have to pay. You're basically paying for visibility. So you're paying to advertise to an audience that already decided it wanted to see your content, but now you got to pay to see the full audience. So if you had 1 million followers, we'll give you the first 150,000 for free. But if you want to reach the other 850, you got to cut a check, because that's how we make our money, and we're not going to give you that free visibility. So that's very problematic and something that I'm not a fan of. But again, that is another way that we seek to be different, and we are different in that the fact that there are no limitations, even right now. Like, even though following, I believe, is something of a thing of the past, and engagement is primarily what social media is moving into the future. But if you wind up with 1 million followers on Fanbase, if you post something and those 1 million people are on the platform, they will see your content. So your content will be seen by 1 million people. That's relatively important. And we want to take it outside of just your following and even expose your content to the wider audience of people that can engage with it, because then the likelihood that people will tip your content or share your content or subscribe to you increases the more visibility we give you. So it's more like the more visibility, the better, because the trade-off, the byproduct of that is subscriptions and revenue for every single person on the platform. And so that's the goal. So that's where we separate ourselves completely.
Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today here on Civic Cipher. Do me a favor before you go, shout out your social media, and of course, let folks know where they can find Fanbase.
So I am at IsaacHayes3, ISAACHAYES, and the number 3 at all socials, but primarily on Fanbase. You can download Fanbase on iOS and Android right now, and you can invest in Fanbase. It's startengine.com/Fanbase. The minimum to invest is $399. We're raising $17 million, which is unprecedented, and it's really going to change the way that we're able to scale the business. And so this is a significant raise for us, and we're excited. As always, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I'm Ramses Ja.
I am Q Ward.
This has been Civic Cipher. Until next week, y'all.
Peace.